Hey there everyone, this is Jeremy, the Music Andy, and we're here today to talk about Crash from Charli XCX. This is studio album number 6 from the pop sensation from Cambridge, United Kingdom, and coming off of 2 wildly successful albums, Charli and How I'm Feeling Right Now. Both albums kind of pushing forward the mainstream pop trend that was happening, being a lot more experimental in approach, using things like hyperpop, deconstructed club, glitch pop, but still maintaining a lot of those old traditional styles of pop being, dance pop, electro pop, synth pop. Charli is somebody that uses a lot of influences and a lot of different styles from other artists, but presents them in a unique way, adding a lot of different samples, that deconstructed club style, and really tying it all together and making a very unique listen. This album, though, is a lot more focused on the lyrics, the vocals, the traditional style of pop, having the pop singer being the main focus and the instruments just kind of being a supportive character, using some 80s style drums, some beats to it, and also going in a much more tamer experimental style, using some ambience, using some drone atmospheric styles on the more experimental tracks, still giving you a little bit of taste of the old Charli. Crash starts this album with some very nice layering, some interesting tones, some fun vocals. They don't really go into the experimental style too much, and they are, like I said, staying in that much more traditional style of pop, just kind of quick, catchy melody driven, more focused on the vocals, but the instrumentation on this is still very nice. The ending guitar that's on this track is fantastic, and I wish that it was drawn out a little bit more, or maybe kind of upped in production a little bit, but this album is a lot more compressed. It isn't as loose as the previous 2 albums, which is fine. I don't mind this album going in a much more cleaner, compressed, nicely produced. Everything's just kind of tamed. But I like when music is a lot more dynamic. It's a lot more rich in the textures, a lot more layering is going on, but still, from what I'm hearing on this album with this first track, I feel like we're in good hands. It's kind of taking that old style, bringing in that new style, and kind of converging them, combining them into one new listen. Some other tracks that I think also kind of complement and go along with this trend of giving to the old and adding to the new is Constant Repeat. I think Move Me, I think Lightning, and I think Twice are all tracks that kind of do this in similar style to Crash. These are tracks that are a lot more experimental, abstract, loose on the vocal melodies, on the instrumentation, really being a lot more atmospheric and progressive in builds, adding a much more dynamic, rich listen. Lightning and Twice are the 2 tracks that I think do this in kind of the best way. Lightning is a lot more warm, motivating, uplifting, serene in approach, and then Twice is a lot more atmospheric, hypnotizing, but it's still very commanding on the vocals from Charli. Now going on to the bigger chunk of this album, which is the more danceable, the more vocal-driven, the more lyric-driven side of this album. We have some really good songs, and we have a few misses on it too. Good Ones is a track that really has a heavy Lady Gaga feel on it. It has that deep, round bass and that tinny snare. And the way that Charli presents her vocals is in a very nicely contrasting way on the track. I think this is a great song. Big For You kind of has this vaporwave soundscape at moments with a very nice euphoric lifting synth on it. The only time that I really didn't like this song was the ending of it, when Charli's vocals are kind of a little bit forceful. They're not really complementing the track very well. It's a little too harsh. Baby is a super playful track. It has some jangly guitars, has some very nice climbing synths that are very bright in tone, but Charli is absolutely speaking smut on this lyrically. Do not play this track at work, or please do. It would be very funny to walk into an H&M or a Starbucks and hear this playing over top, especially with the chorus on it. Yuck is probably the last of the more tamed tracks on this that I like from Charli. That Boy's So Mushy, I'm Just Trying to Get Lucky. Lyrics are hilarious to me. Every Rule is probably the only song on this album that I would skip. I don't like it lyrically, and the melodies and the instrumentation on it aren't interesting enough to make me want to listen to this, so it's one of those that I just kind of throw into the bin. New Shapes is one of the bigger songs that really didn't grab my attention too much. The synth on it feels a little bare bones. The melodies feel a little bit formulated and simple. I definitely see this being a track that's being played in, like grocery stores and malls and the Target. And if you like this track, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying that you have bad taste or anything. It just isn't something that really suits me and what I want to listen to. Overall, I prefer the previous works from Charli, being a lot more abstract, experimental, a little bit more playful in sound and melodies, being more progressive rather than linear in the way that the songs are structured. Still though, I do like this album. There's a lot of songs that I have added to my playlist, some other songs that if they were played, I'd be fine listening to it. So with that being said, I'm going to give this 7.2 Crash Bandicoots out of 10. What did you think of this album? What albums would you like me to review in the future? Please leave a comment below and let me know. Subscribe if you like the content, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you.